show going, man.
Hurry up, hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up!
Hurry up!
Come on now. We're going to have action soon. Right here. It ain't going nowhere.
Boy, yeah, you got some technique, boy. You ain't show me that this summer.
Hey, wild cat.
Ball at the 5, third down and 2.
That was bad.
Let's go have some fun, bro. We ain't got to talk about too much.
He wasn't playing the ball.
It's holding.
Cliff. It's a cliff. How is that not called?
That ain't going to call a damn thing.
What is the delay for? He's standing right there.
He's taking a card out. He's a piece of paper.
It's that close? Dear Lord.
Hello and welcome. We're the Aussie guys. I'm AJ and here with me is G. How are you, G?
As always.
As always.
And no drinks for the pod tonight either. Do you know why?
Why?
Because what do you sip? Is that water?
It's water.
That's boring. But because you're still on your health kick,
Yeah.
it's not fair upon me to keep bringing alcohol.
Well, that's true.
And having an alcohol in front of you and you can't have one, and then I'm bringing these alcohol and you're storing them away somewhere because I'm not taking them home with you.
And I'm not drinking them
And you're
at the moment.
Not at the moment.
No.
But it's not up to me to stock your fridge.
You could do that. Well, no, not stock my fridge. You could bring a drink. That's fine.
No, I'm not going to do that in front of you. I'm out there with you. I've got, I'm off in less than 90 days now.
Yeah.
So I'm on my 90-day countdown training schedule. So,
Training schedule?
Yep. Just
What are you
sharpen
training
up.
for?
Just got to sharpen up. Just look at a bit. Mate,
okay.
mate, I'm going to be sitting on the beaches in Spain. I want to look good.
This means tough competition in Spain.
Hey, yeah.
Whew.
I've got to find if anybody out there knows anybody who has a black market or like off the grid solarium.
I was going to
That'd be great because, mate, there's nothing worse than rocking up in 40-odd degree Spanish weather and you're
pasty white.
pasty. Oh, well, I'm never pasty white,
No.
but compared to them,
Yes. Yeah. You're not bronzed.
so just drop me a line. All on the low. On the hush.
On the down low.
That's what I was looking for. Down low, thank you.
On the down low.
I'm not a hip.
But listen, we do have a guest on the
We
line
do.
just patiently waiting while you kind of wade through all that stuff. Lewis Glover, who is the commish of the Down Under Bowl and also friend of the pod. We have, I'm trying to think, we've been in a league or two together, I think, Lewis. But anyway, and we're often like messages backwards and forwards and stuff. And obviously, Lewis, heavily involved in fantasy. He's really keen into Dynasty football. He writes for DFF, Dynasty Football Factory. And you can also listen to him on the Vault Studio, which comes out of Melbourne, I believe, those boys recording in Melbourne. But Lewis, you've been waiting patiently. A warm welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on, guys. And it's a shame it's taken this long for us to get together and do something, considering usually the biggest obstacle to fantasy football podcast is the time zone.
Right.
So we got no excuse, but I know. Well, it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, we have played in a league together, and like you said, we have plenty of interaction through social media as well. So it's awesome to finally jump on the pod with you.
Now,
and I'm also on a bit of a health kick. Well, not drinking for a month either. So we're all teetotaling at the moment.
Hey,
Nice.
on the
Nice
wagon.
work.
But
Now,
just before we go any further, before we go into that,
Yeah.
FF Down Under. Now, you have an accent. I can't pick. Is it a Queensland accent that you have, or I know you're based in Sydney. It's just a bit of a strange title for someone. Doesn't seem to be from Australia.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing slips past you, does it?
No. I'm on the ball.
Yeah. So if people who can't tell, I was born in England, and then my family moved to Queensland when I was 10 years old. So I do have an English accent with a bit of probably some Queensland hybrid in there as well. And
so it's not a good mix, is it?
So bit of a mix going on. But yeah, lived in Australia for quite some time now.
I'll tell you just quietly, all their UK listeners will suddenly unsubscribe. But nice move. UK to Queensland.
Well, it's a pretty good place, and you just have to go down. You just have to go down to Bondi Beach, and you go, well, half of England's bloody here anyway. So.
That's right. Now the Aussie Bowl, Down Under Bowl, which had, now I think that this year you're going to have 180, or you're aiming for 180 people, sort of inspired by Scott Fishbowl.
100% inspired by Scott Fishbowl. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard about it, and I was like, what is this madness? And I'm sure many people who were just getting into fantasy or hadn't heard of it before, like, how does this concept work? And I read a lot about SFB 7 and was fortunate enough to play in SFB 8 and what Scott has done in terms of building the charitable component of it. Fantasy Cares, how much money he's raised, and just a great league that people look forward to each year. Just something a little bit different from your typical fantasy football league. So that's why I was inspired to start the Fantasy Football Down Under Bowl. It was 120 teams last year. The theme of it, you got to have a good theme for your league. That was actually the League TV show last year, so there were some great team names as you can imagine. And this year, I thought it'd be quite topical. It's Marvel since the Avengers Endgame came out, so it's 15 divisions, 180 teams. Each division is a different Marvel film or character.
Oh, sign me up.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Is this something to do with Game of Thrones?
Oh, gee. Don't worry, I'll fly the culture flag for everybody in this room.
Yeah, one of you has to.
Oh, man, look, I know all the movies, and I know all that. Is Iron Man, is that part of Marvel?
Iron Man.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, yeah. So we're down the right. Look, I know them all. Like, I've got a 14-year-old son. Now, not only that, is that now my wife is watching all of them because she wants to go and see what's the
Endgame.
Endgame, okay. So she wants to go and watch that, but she's been told you have to know the backlog of everybody.
Well, you don't have to know them all, but there's an order.
There's an order. Okay,
yes.
So anyway, she's watching them all, and today she has Fridays off, so she took herself to the pictures and saw, what's the new one that's out?
Captain Marvel.
She went and saw that by herself.
Right.
So she gets a lot more enjoyment going by herself than if I tag along, which is fine by me. Tonight, my daughter and her boyfriend are there watching, is it Strange Love?
Doctor Strange?
Is it Strange? It's Doctor Strange, is it?
Is it a Captain Marvel?
Yeah, it's the Marvel one.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is the Marvel one. I'm pretty sure Doctor Strangelove was like an old...
Yeah, that's right, with Peter Sellers.
They're not watching Doctor Strangelove.
No, they were doing it out in the open, mate. Everybody out in the open, please. Hands above the sheet too.
Doors open.
Yes, exactly right. So they're all he's catching up with that. So and they'll all go together and watch the new one. Now, talking about that, I was listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
And there was something said by, who was a player that said something to do with the end game?
Oh, it was LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn McCoy. I don't know what he did.
Spoiler?
Yeah, he did a spoiler.
You're kidding.
No, he did.
Yeah, no, he came out and immediately tweeted like the day it came out and spoiled.
You're kidding.
Gave all the spoilers. No, it's just absolute dick move. And it was Matthew Berry gave him a great nickname. I think he called him Le Spoiler McCoy or something like that, which I thought was quite.
That's a dick move.
But what they were saying after they spoke about that is there's kids running into the cinema when everybody's sitting down to watch the movie and yelling out.
No.
Yes.
You're kidding me.
No. This is the generation that's going to is going to be serving us in nursing homes.
I wouldn't condone violence, but like you'd want to smack them in the head.
You would. You chase them out, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Seriously. Sometimes you got to be taught a lesson.
Lewis, what was your?
That's not on.
No. You've seen it, obviously.
I saw it on last weekend, and I really enjoyed it. It was, it did the job it needed to do, and I had a lot of fun watching it, and I'll probably watch it a second time.
Oh, you've got to watch it a second time. I watched it at a midnight screening. It was the Friday night, though, but midnight, so it finished at 3 a.m.
Did you sneak out of the house?
It was worth it. Yeah, I snuck out of the house.
Mate, I know you would have snuck out of the house.
I climbed out the bedroom window. Yeah.
But anyway, we should...
Yes, absolutely. I did just want to say, though, just circling back to the Down Under Bowl, I sunk my Down Under Bowl, believe it or not, true story, in the draft, Lewis, in the second round, I drafted Darius Geis after he was injured.
So a little bit of connection issue there, but you did say you drafted Darius Geis after he was injured.
Yes. Believe it or not, right, it was because we must have been drafting in the preseason, and Geis ripped off that. So he's only had like one run.
That's a good run.
And then he pulled up. Remember, he kind of pulled up.
It was a very good run.
Yeah. And then I was kind of hovering over the pick button. And then the post game was Geis. He was saying, "No, I'm okay. I'm no problem." And everybody's saying, "No problem. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, move on."
So I'm like, "Oh, cool. It's all good." Because I hesitated. I thought, "Ooh, hang on," and then it's like, "No, everything's good." So I'm like, click, drafted, and then literally hours later,
turns out Geis isn't a doctor. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, literally hours later, ACL. It's like, are you kidding me? And that was my Down Under Bowl.
Well, it was finished then.
It was a bit of an absolute hospital ward last season, and tons of people's teams were ruined by injury, but none quite as bad as that as a bad starting point.
Well, I was the first. No one had drafted him because you know how you can look in MFL, you can see who's picked a player. Well, I was the only one out of the 120 because we left out of the gate. I don't know, our division just went boom, and we were drafting like a rate of knots. So I was the unlucky first, and others who might have been considering it dodged a bullet.
So tell us, how much work goes into getting it all together?
Yeah, there's a decent amount. I mean, just in terms of getting the word out and getting people to sign up, it can be a bit of a battle. It has been so far. Obviously, people have beaten down Scott Fish's door to get into the Scott Fish Bowl. Now, I don't ever think it will be like that, but I'm hoping it will get to a point where we're going to have returning players. And hopefully it's an enjoyable experience for people to want to keep coming back year on year. And the good thing is as well, there's a charitable component to it. We donate money to the Smith family, and also there are cash prizes up for grabs as well. So there's a bit of everything for people who want to do good and people who just want to try and win some big cash prizes.
So is it purely based here and New Zealand? I think, is that correct? Or is it? Do we have overseas contestants?
So last year, everyone was based in Australia or New Zealand. I did extend the invitation to the lovely neighbours, but this year, because I've got 180 teams, I decided to just open it up and get as many people involved as possible.
And look, surely there's 180 fantasy players in Australia who'd be keen enough.
Yeah,
you'd think.
They're obviously and it's just a matter of A, finding them,
right,
and then B, a lot of them haven't played on my fantasy league for the first time, so that turns people away a little bit. And then just the concept as well, right? A lot of people just want to do their standard scoring draft on NFL.com because that's all and that's fine. That's what you like playing. That's what you're used to. But there's other things out there, and hopefully that's what I want to do as well, is to be able to open up people's eyes to how many great different types of fantasy leagues there are out there. The FF Down Under Bowl being one of them.
Yeah, if there's one thing I can say about, I think we're pretty intelligent sport watchers as a nation, but I think as far as fantasy football goes, the United States has us well and truly spanked. People over there have been playing fantasy football for 20 years, where they used to get the newspaper
get the newspaper and go through the
column on a Monday. Yeah.
Work out what
send your lineups by mail to the
Yes.
commissioner. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Fax it through probably would imagine when faxing came in. Oh, how good! Can't get better than this, can it? But one thing I did find unusual is once again my daughter's boyfriend plays. I don't know if you play Supercoach.
Right.
I don't play Supercoach.
I don't play, but I know a decent enough amount about it. In terms of, I know a lot of people at work play it and all that. So,
but he really, which I find strange, is that everybody can draft the same person, depending on what the cash value of the person is.
Yeah,
which I just find that how he goes in the final. I think that he was in this year. Mate, it's basically the same team against the same team.
It's a weird one. It's a bit like daily fantasy, isn't it? It's a bit like DFS, but over the course of an entire season.
It doesn't make any sense. And when I said this is how, because he was asking me how does the fantasy that we play, And I said, no, you get a group of people and you have 12, 14, 6, how many's in the league?
Right.
And you only draft that guy. And once he's gone. You've got to move on to the next. And he thought, mate, that was a fantastic way to do it. I'm thinking, why don't they do that with Supercoach? Like,
I think they need to. I think that, and I think it can be a big part to the growth of the game as well. I was just talking about this with a friend from university. I'm studying Diploma of Sports Media part-time, and so one of the things we were fortunate enough to do on Monday actually was head out to Fox Sports Studios and see an episode of NRL 360 get taped. And we were talking about how, you would grow the game and how you can make it more popular. And fantasy has done that for the NFL like nothing else. So because you just have people who just want to watch Souths play, right? Or they just want to see Parramatta play. But fantasy has completely taken that and go, I want to watch every team. I want to watch every player play. And if they can do that with Supercoach, what it can do for the NRL here, it can be enormous.
Absolutely.
That's the game where they still play in stadiums where they still have like grass covered hills. Is that right? There's no stands.
That is the one, yeah. And like 800 people turn up and
no, just having a bit of a dig. But our Storm has a nice building and not a bad team either.
Yeah.
They're okay.
They are okay.
Yeah. Even with a few extra dollars in the salary cap in a brown paper bag. But,
Yeah, well, that's right. Now, listen, I've been listening to lots of pods, and I know you have G, and I know you have Lewis, and a lot of pods at the moment are doing post-NFL draft mock drafts. I think I've listened to maybe half a dozen of them. I'm getting tired of them.
Yep.
And we are not going down that road. We're certainly going to talk about the draft. That's kind of the topical thing, isn't it? I mean, it's just happened.
Yes.
And it's fair enough to talk about it. But, man, if I hear another mock draft, I think I'm going to go bananas.
We've got plenty of time to get more into.
Yes, we do have plenty of time.
Pre-season.
But I think the first thing that you wanted to talk about, G, was just to look at our NFL teams that we support.
Yes.
So not fantasy related, just team related.
Yes,
and
how they went in the draft.
How they went, because, I mean, we all know our teams. And but that was before we knew you were a Patriots fan.
I said that. I found out today. I said, Lewis, I'm a Pats fan. I said, podcast cancelled, just like that. No emojis to go with it. So I don't know if he took it me too seriously.
Is that why you've rigged this shonky internet connection in the hope that I'll just give up and
just drop out? That'll be
just drop out.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Actually, I'm just saying that I'm about to. But Jarrett Stidham and Damian Harris, I mean, the Patriots had quietly, and obviously N'Keal Harry, had a really good draft.
I was really pleased with how it shook out, particularly getting N'Keal Harry there with the last pick in the first round. It was, he was one of my favorite receivers coming in to the draft. He was so much fun to watch. It seemed like every time you put on ASU games or you just jump on Twitter, it's just N'Keal Harry doing ridiculous things. People were concerned about his athleticism. He sort of put those concerns to bed at the combine for a guy his size. So I'm really excited with that particular pick. But just all round, it just seems, particularly because the Pats had so many picks, they were just getting value everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Just about. We'll just stop on N'Keal Harry there. Now, we know with Josh Gordon, we saw what Josh Gordon did when he got on the field, and they slowly worked him into the system. And every week he got better and better, and Brady trusted him more. And look, Brady's the type of guy, you throw one ball up, you catch it, he'll go, I'll go to you again. I'll put it up, and you got two guys on you. He found that trust in Gordon. Now, with everything that's going on with him, he signed another contract for a year, but at the moment, no one knows what's going on. Are they saw what they did with Gordon last year, and they've gone, well, Harry's that same sort of guy. Is that part of the reason? Because when you look at it all, though, in the past couple of years, if you look at the stats and all that, I don't have them on me, but his downfield throw, Brady, is not his strongest suit. It never really was. He's more of a slice and dice you with 1,000 cuts type guy. But
Right.
how do you? Are they looking for that Josh Gordon replacement after what they got out of him last year? You feel?
Look, they needed to do something, and I won't go into Josh Gordon because I could talk about Josh Gordon for an entire hour. I love that kid. I think he's amazing. I was so happy when the Pats traded for him, but I digress. But in terms of what they were looking for from Harry, they needed something right, because obviously Gronk retired. Gordon's situation is up in the air. Chris Hogan, who didn't really do much last season, but he did run a lot of routes and he was stretching the field. He contributed. He wasn't in the box score, but he was contributing. They lost him, and then they signed Demaryius Thomas, who, to be honest, I think he might not even make the 53, or he might start the season on the PUP list. So they needed to do something, and he is that bigger body, big target, but can get downfield as well. And the concerns around him are separation. I don't think Josh Gordon really ever had separation issues, but Harry has got such a good catch radius. He's very physical, and he can compete for the ball so well. And I think if once Brady starts to throw it up to him and he comes down with it, because he makes those contested catches so well, like you said, he builds that trust, he builds that rapport with the receiver, and I think he's going to be a tremendous success in the Patriots, which, everyone will be so glad to hear.
Yes. Well, yeah, no, certainly it was...
31 other teams aren't, but that's okay. Everyone that lives in the area of New England.
It was a splash pick at the end, and it kind of reminded me of like the Michelle pick last year, which was kind of at the end of the round as well. Again, it seems a little bit un-Belichick, but I mean, what is Bill Belichick? He's just kind of... Nobody really knows what he's
this
thinking.
Is exactly right. This is, and I tweeted this out a few days before the draft, because everyone was mocking one of the tight ends for the Patriots at 32, and there was all this talk with, they've got all of these additional picks, the compensatory picks. They're going to move up and get Noah Fant as a Gronk replacement, or they want TJ Hawkinson, or Irv Smith's going to be there at 32. And of course, in Bill Belichick fashion, he came out of the draft without a tight end and then proceeded to trade away another tight end off the roster for a conditional 7th-round pick. So it's a fool's errand trying to predict what Bill Belichick is going to do. And at this point, when he does something, you just sort of learn to place your trust in it. And it probably tells us a little bit about how they feel about Austin Seferian-Jenkins and Matt Lacoste as well, because really they're the only warm bodies at tight end on the roster, I believe, now. So it probably says something to them, and maybe they'll do something closer to the start of the of the preseason.
Well, yes and no. Like, I feel like it's a bit of ignorance on our part. Like, I think a lesser coach, in losing a valuable piece like Gronkowski, a piece of a wall in your house falls down, and you rush to quickly fill that wall. But instead, Bill Belichick says, well, I don't need a wall there. I can have a patio on the other side of the house. You know what I mean?
That's a really nice analogy.
It wasn't bad either. I'm rather impressed.
I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. But you're absolutely right, because no one is going to replace Gronk. Another discussion for another day, but it's at least in the discussion of the best ever to play the position.
Right.
So just going into the draft to try and replace him, conveniently the year he retires, the odds of that happening are pretty slim, even though it is, a quote-unquote very good tight end class. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right that it's almost a bit of sleight of hand. It's like, look over here, look at this giant hole in our roster. Right. And meanwhile, he's finessing everyone, great wide receivers and running backs, and he's going, well, we'll just change what we're doing offensively this season.
Right.
But I've always said about Belichick, the one thing is, the guys that run football teams, from general managers to the coaches, there's got to come a point where someone's got to work out that when we're all going one way, we all know Belichick's going to go the other. Like, when is someone going to actually... Is he that smart that there's only so many turns you can take before someone starts to work out that it's about time that... What's the most obscure thing we can think of? And that's what Belichick's going to do. When someone actually work that out, I'm dumbfounded by it.
Yeah, it's everyone's always a few steps behind. They're always chasing what was working for them a couple of years or a season before, and then before other teams have had the chance to catch up, he changes it again. But you're absolutely right that it seems crazy that people don't take that. What is the least likely thing to happen and go, you know what, let's just take a chance on that and predict that way, because seemingly that's got a track record of that sort of stuff happening.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
Yeah. Now, your other picks, we'll talk about Damien Harris that you got in the third round. You had a few picks in the third round, Damien Harris being one of them. Now, we saw what Sony Michel did last year, and Belichick put a lot of faith in Michel. I was a big rapper Michel coming out. He was right at the top of my list. Now, does that say it's obviously when they're going to start running the ball a lot more, which is smart.
Logical.
Right. That's one logical thing he's probably going to do with the quarterback that he's got. Has it got more to do with Rex Burkhead?
Look, I think there's a few factors there with the Damien Harris pick. First of all, I just think it was value at the 87th selection, right? Because he's a very good running back. He's got 2,000-yard seasons under his belt for Alabama and still produced last year. He passes the eye test. He measured quite well. And you can never have enough running backs. And the Patriots love to have a committee backfield. Rex Burkhead can't be trusted to stay healthy. And Michel had question marks around his knees coming out last year. Now, he took a little while to get into his groove, but once he got going, Belichick trusted him. And I just think it's that continuation of keep being able to run the ball. And one of the reasons why they're able to run the ball so well is because of what Tom Brady does. And you just can't afford, no matter how weak his arm gets, no matter how old he gets, he's going to be out there processing the game faster than anyone else out on the field. So, it's good to make fun of Brian Schottenheimer and the Seahawks for wanting to establish the run at the cost of everything else. But the Patriots don't get the same criticism for coming out and running the ball down the throat of the Kansas City Chiefs to go and score. And they did the same thing against the Chargers. Everyone knew it was coming and they just did it. And that's in part because they're able to with the offensive line, best O-line coach in the league in Dante Scarnecchia, probably. But it's also what Brady can do as well. And if he's still got the ability and the arm strength, particularly in the short and intermediate passes, to punish teams if they just want to go, okay, we'll load up the box and take away the run game. Fine, go ahead. And Brady will, as you said earlier, slice and dice you, cut you 1,000 pieces and march down the field. They can do it either way they want.
Now, you also took a left tackle and a left guard. Now, I'll leave you to pronounce those two guys' names, if you can do that. That'd be great.
Yodny Kajust, right? From that's right,
the left tackle in the third round.
Oh, the left. Yeah, sorry, right. So there was two linemen taken. Yeah, so you got Yodny Kajust. To be honest, I won't pretend like I've watched a ton of
I just want to hear you say their names. I don't care anything about them. I just want you to see how you pronounce their names, because I've absolutely no idea where to start.
Well, I've heard Yodny, and I'm going with Kajust because of the tight end from Hard Knocks last year, right?
That's
Devin
right.
Kajust?
Yes,
the guy with the crystals from the Cleveland Browns.
That's right. That's right.
And can you pronounce your new left guard you took in the fourth?
Oh. No, but he's got a badass name, and I assume he's some kind of descendant of Thor. So
it's a bit like that. And just before we move to how you guys went on the defensive side, you picked up in the fourth round Jarrett Stidham, which is a great pick.
Interesting,
raw, needs a bit of work, but could you not land in a better spot?
Yeah, it's perfect, right? Almost a no pressure development situation for at least a year. Touch wood, maybe 2. I won't get greedy and ask for 3, but just a perfect situation. I mean, the easy comparison is a Jimmy Garoppolo type situation. Maybe Jimmy G came too soon. They thought, obviously there was the whole behind the scenes drama about Brady and wanting to stay and play on. Clearly, that turned out to be the right decision. But perhaps this is a second chance at that sort of model they were trying to do with Jimmy Garoppolo a few years ago.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense, because at the end of the day, you end up with, if you do, well, look, Tom Brady is close enough at the end that it's really a no-brainer, but every team in the NFL should be drafting a quarterback every 1 or 2 years and developing them. And then if you do have someone who's looking pretty good, then you've got collateral.
Yeah, I think it's a great process. I mean, it's only a fourth-round pick, right? The chances of a fourth-round pick panning out at another position are quite slim. And so I think you should draft a quarterback every year, particularly for your backup position, and see what you've got in them, because it's a cheap way to really get to know them, because you can do all you want through the pre-draft process. You can get them in for a visit, you can watch their tape, but you don't really know them till you get a chance to get them in the building for an extended period of time, see how they study, see how they work, see how much they pick up, how receptive they are to the concepts that you want to install. And the fourth round pick is a completely valuable way of finding that out. I mean, it's worth spending that to find out if that could be the guy in the fourth round. So yeah. I mean, if it's not, see you later. You can cut him, move on, and nobody's lost anything from it.
Absolutely. Gee, just on the Falcons quickly. Do you want to just highlight?
A lot better draft than the Patriots.
Oh, really?
Oh, no,
I don't think so.
No, neither do I. Neither do I. But then again, it wasn't, from the Falcons' point of view, it was not a sexy draft at all. We took Chris Lindstrom in the first, offensive guard out of Boston College, 6'4", 308, and he's a run blocker. One of the better guards, if not one of the top at the top of the tree in this class. And then we traded up with the Rams, took their pick and gave away the second day for us. So that was pretty boring from a Falcons point of view. And when I saw that come up, we're traded. You wanted something sexy?
Yeah.
When you trade up?
Let's get a lineman.
Yeah, let's get another lineman. So we grabbed Caleb McGarry, offensive tackle, 6'7", 317 pounds. I have heard his arms a little bit short. But I have no, mate, as you're that size, mate, just stand in front of someone, isn't it your job? So that was great. And he was last year the Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Year.
Right.
So another really high touted guy. And that's great. One, that if you are looking at players that were advantaged by the draft, mate, Devontae Freeman was definitely advantaged by this draft.
Ooh,
yeah,
without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've seen what he can do with just an okay line. Now, this should be a bit better than okay. It might take a while for these guys to integrate into the team, but if they bring the standard they set in at college, this is great. And even for Ito Smith, a little pinball bouncing around out there. And then we had to wait till the fourth round. Kendall Sheffield, a cornerback. We let Robert Alford go, which is... Mate, I'm more than happy with that. I reckon he's like one of the most penalised bloody cornerbacks in the NFL.
Robert, just close the door on the way out, please.
Yeah, but he was terrible. Like and really dumb penalties too. I don't know. But that so we need someone there. So that's great. He's out at Ohio State. And then what did we do? He didn't look. The guys. Now we saw the speed of the guys that came out of Ohio State this year.
Right.
Now, all the wide receivers said that, mate, this dude is faster than all of them, hands down. So that's a good thing to know. He didn't go to the combine, obviously, because he tore his pec, so he had no work. Torn pec, hopefully it's just a small tear, not a... those.
I can't say I've ever torn my pec.
No. You got to go to the gym, before you... and then in the fourth round, John Komsky... he's defensive end. Doesn't look too bad. I'm trying to find tape on these guys, but it's not exactly that easy. Round 5, actually, we picked up another running back, and Quandre Olison out of Pitt, 6'1", 220. So I actually, there's footage on him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I wish I had known about this before we had our waivers run through on a couple of our...
Really?
Yeah,
you like him?
Yeah. Look, mate, He's not going to juke you in the open field. That's not the size. He's 6'1", 228 pounds. Mate, he's big. He's powerful. Mate, is he going to take it to the house? No. But, mate, you are going to have to run to catch him.
Right.
You're going to have to run him down. He's going to put on yards. He's not like Montgomery where you're going to catch him pretty quick.
Right.
This guy, you actually have to run to bring him down. You eventually get there.
Yep.
But, mate, he's added another 40 yards. Good balance, got a bit of wiggle. Has played special teams. Ended last year with 1,190 yards and 11 TDs.
Okay.
The Pitt.
Ooh.
Then in the 5th round, we took Jordan Miller, cornerback out of Washington. He's got, his speed's just okay. Really raw. From what I've heard and read, he had a few foot issues, but the dude's a baller, so that's great. And then in the 6th round, we took a wide receiver, Marcus Green, out of Louisiana Monroe. 5'8", 190 pounds. So I looked this dude up. Man, this dude is quick.
You'd want to be.
Oh man,
Yeah, I was going to say he needs to be for that size.
He's good. I'm really excited about. I thought when I saw like where Louisiana Monroe, okay, 5'8". Are you kidding me? My daughter's 5'8".
I'm. Oh, actually,
What are you?
I'm just under 5'8".
Just under 5'8".
Yeah.
I reckon he probably moves a
Imagine.
little bit better than you, but not much. Mate, but he has speed and he has some open field moves. And look, we need a punt returner, a kick returner, and he's probably going to be the guy that's going to get those duties. And that's what he one of his specialties at Louisiana Monroe. So that pretty much rounded up the Falcons, mate. So how did your guys, the Raiders, go?
Oh, I beg your pardon?
Oh, sorry. Who are we on?
The
Saints.
Chargers.
Saints? Where have you moved now? What city have you moved to this year?
The city that hosts the Chargers. I won't mention their name, but I'll mention the team's name.
Okay.
I was really happy with their draft. A couple of picks that seemed sort of reaches, to be honest, but their first round pick in a draft that was defensive heavy, they went 5 out of 7 picks on the D. And the first round pick, I mean, it was quite trendy to go D tackle, obviously, and they went D tackle. But Jerry Tillery...
I was going to say, isn't it unusual that you have all these stars on defense, but you have massive holes as well?
Yes. Yeah. Look, the Chargers could not stop the run to save themselves last year, and it lost them, really, the playoffs. So Jerry Tillery was a fantastic pick, and you've got to think that along that line with Bosa and Ingram and Tillery now, that's going to be a really good line. So that was a fantastic pick. And in the second round, also a great pick, Nasir Adderley, who some people had as their best safety on the board. And he's going to be playing, obviously, side by side with Derwin James. And that, again, But it's funny because...
I love Derwin James.
Oh, Derwin James is fantastic. Now...
Yeah, that's a killer duo, putting him alongside Derwin James. That's almost unfair.
It is, but I tell you, we definitely had a need. I was quietly hoping that we might... Mind you, Pittsburgh traded up to get Devin Bush. So maybe they were thinking of Devin Bush, possibly at 28, but because linebacker was definitely a need. However, in the 4th, they did pick Drew Tranquil, who's not bad, He's a body in there. I think he's going to compete. The Chargers linebacker core is kind of thin, to be honest. So I think he actually could get some decent sort of snaps. The 3rd round pick was a bit of a head scratcher, and there were good receivers on the board. Obviously, Chargers lost Terrell Williams, who's gone to the dark side, like I did. Went to the dark side.
Just talking about that, when we took Marcus Green in the 6th round,
yeah,
mate, I was looking on the screen and I'm looking down, about 5 picks below him was Harmon.
Harmon, I know. Man, I would have been stoked if the Chargers took Harmon even in the 3rd.
What did people see that...
I don't know.
We're seeing something completely different, aren't we?
It makes
like
you wonder.
He wasn't in my top 5. When I first saw him, he was at the top of my list, but he was one of the first guys I looked at, and he sort of dropped down a little bit, but he would definitely in my top 10.
Yeah. He was a steal in the 6th round, wasn't he?
I think so.
I think so too. But anyway, Trey Pipkins, who's an offensive tackle, all 6'6" and 309 pounds of him. Now, offensive tackle was a need, but this guy's a bit of a project. He's a Division 2 player and lots of Man, there was such a run on tackle really across both lines. There was a run on both in the trenches. And so when you're going all the way down to pick 91 and you're picking an offensive tackle, well, he's a fair way down your board, you'd think. He seemed like a bit of a reach. That was disappointing. But Drew Tranquil, I liked that pick. And then, I don't know if it's worth talking about the others, but Easton Stick in the 5th, the quarterback. So anyway, I don't know, backup quality. I mean, that was another thing that I sort of thought, although the Panthers kind of messed up that plan. I don't know if the Chargers were even thinking that, but I would have loved someone like Will Greer to have ended up at the Chargers.
Yeah, I would like Will Greer at the Patriots.
Yeah, same.
But ended up with Stidham. But Greer, he's an interesting prospect.
Yeah, and bad landing spot, it feels. But anyway, I mean, what can you sort of feel like...
Yeah, it sort of feels that he's going to be stuck there for years, or... Yeah. I mean, Cam, it just takes one big hit on Cam and the franchise changes direction, right? So it really could go either way.
Yes, absolutely. In the 6th, a defensive end and another D tackle in the 7th. But anyway, so yeah, it was a pretty defensive driven draft, which I'm fine with. I'm fine because you want your team to have good D, don't you? You definitely do.
100%. Hey guys, just before we move on, I just wanted to share with you a little resource that I came across. It's because you were saying, I think G, you were saying that you couldn't find much tape on some of the guys you were talking about. There's a guy on Twitter, Mark Jarvis. I don't know if you follow him, and
don't think so.
He owns a sort of a draft website. He's at What's on Draft NFL. Give him a follow because he works his arse off, first of all, but his pinned tweet, he's got a link to a Google spreadsheet database, and I am looking at it right now, and every position is broken down. He's got individual scouting reports, links to tape cut-ups on YouTube. It's unbelievable, this Google spreadsheet. It's out there. It's out there for free. If you want to support him on Patreon, I would encourage you, anyone listening who enjoys the resource to do so, because this is his life's work, what he's putting in. Wow. And it's incredible. So it's at What's on Draft NFL, and his pinned tweet right at the top. He's got his website, his YouTube channel, and then the 2019 NFL draft database. And I'm looking at the running backs right now, and I opened up Kadri, or Kad, I don't know how to say his name, but he's got tape cut-ups for 6 games.
Beautiful.
Of his games from 2018 to it's unbelievable, and he's got this for hundreds of prospects. It's a masterpiece.
I actually have a list here. I actually sent out a tweet to Matt, just a DNM Matt Wallman, and he sent me 6 guys to look up, and Mark Jarvis is one of them.
Oh, really?
But I think when I first started doing it, and this was like months and months and months ago, that probably Mark was still in the throes of putting it all together.
Ah, right.
But yeah, I know exactly how he set it up. I know the spreadsheet you're talking about with all the colours and everything.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep. I know exactly that.
Nice. Well, gee, let's keep moving. So what was your next item on the agenda?
Look, no, I just thought we'd talk about like
good landing spots.
Yeah, good landing spots. Like who are your top 5 rookies? Who are going to be the best scoring rookies you think this year?
Fantasy wise.
Right. Yeah. Probably more, not so much redraft, because we're all looking here at maybe it could be a year down the track, but for this year alone, top 5 rookies.
I've got a few different names down here.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I think Kyler Murray is going to have a good season. Obviously, he's going to score a ton of points because of the position he plays, but just the way he plays, the system that they're going to build around him, all of the weapons that they're bringing in, the improvements to the offensive line, which was absolutely horrific last year. I think they signed 2 or 3 linemen in free agency, and they were battling injuries as well. So I think Kyler Murray is going to have a strong season, and in Superflex leagues, he's my clear 101 by a significant margin.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I'm excited for what Kyler Murray could do, and I think as a sort of late round QB target in redraft leagues, I think it could go either way. I haven't seen the redraft ADP on him, but I have a feeling people are going to be scared off by how bad the Falcons' offense was last. Excuse me, not the Falcons. I mean, it wasn't great, but The Cardinals, the Cardinals offense was last year, and maybe and you know, he doesn't have the prototypical size, and a lot of people are down on him because of that. So he could be a steal. And we saw what Lamar Jackson did in the back half of the season, just rushing the football. And Murray is just as good at that, if not better, and he's more accurate passer. So love Kyler Murray in all formats this year.
Now, before you move on to your next one, now with Kyler Murray, who do you think on the offense of the Cards does it help the most? Like he's got.
Sorry, guys, we've got to drop out there.
Sorry, I was going to say with Kyler Murray, and who does it help on the offense? Like, who's the big winner? Like Fitz is in definitely his last season. We got. I was going to say Christian. We got Christian Kirk. Don't know why I was going to say Christian Klein. Who's Christian Klein? What that name?
I had no idea.
Josh Klein is a guard. I know that.
Yeah. Who else did they draft? They drafted.
Well, they drafted Andy Isabella.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a big rap as everybody else on Isabella. And they got
Hakeem
Butler. So
Yes.
I think Hakeem Butler is a guy that could be the surprise in this offense. Just the way that Kyler Murray plays, and he can, you know, keep the play going a bit longer. And he's not, mate. He throws a beautiful ball down the field.
Yeah, Kyler really does throw a nice ball, and he's got an absolute rocket on him as well. People think he. I remember pre-draft of reading some people tweeting and writing about him, saying they're not sure about his arm strength. You just need to watch a handful of his throws, and it's a very live arm. So. And like you said, he can extend the play and keep things alive. I think if Butler has a strong season, it's going to be touchdowns. You're going to need plenty of touchdowns from him to do that. I think with Christian Kirk there, Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, I think they're going to be the primary beneficiaries of volume. But once they get into the red zone, he's got that big body size that can separate him. And they don't have much to speak of in the way of tight ends. I know they've got Ricky Seals-Jones, and they signed Charles Clay, but there isn't really much there. So in terms of, inside the 20 and in the end zone, I think Butler could do something from a touchdown perspective. But I can't see him getting that big market share. I quite like Andy Isabella. I think maybe I'm a little bit higher than you are, just because his just absurd metrics and his dominator rating and his college market share and break all those good things that you look for analytically. He's ticked all the boxes. And I think in the offense that the air raid offense that Kyle Kingsbury is going to run, looking to push the ball downfield continuously, I think Andy Isabella will benefit from that. But I think circling back to Kyler Murray, I think he's going to be the biggest beneficiary of them all, and David Johnson as well. I got burned by David Johnson last year. But I'm going right back to the well, and I'll be heavy on David Johnson in a lot of leagues this year. I think it's going to be big.
I think it's a fair call. Okay, what are the players?
I traded David Johnson this year for Zeke. Oh, I'm very happy with that.
That's good.
Yeah,
yeah. That you do that every day and twice on Sundays.
Other fantasy highlights, risers,
who else?
Landing spots.
Lewis?
Yeah, so I'm not all like. Everyone's loving Josh Jacobs, and a lot of people have got him as their 101 because of the draft capital spent on him. The landing spot in Oakland, there isn't much competition there. Isaiah Crowell just went down with a season-ending injury. But I'm just not buying it. I just can't spend a 101 pick in Dynasty on a running back who couldn't separate himself from other running backs, albeit talented ones in Alabama. But he had 3 years to try and get free. He's never handled a big workload. There's just too many things too many question marks for me to invest that kind of pick on him. If people care a little bit more, a bit more reasoning and explanation, I did just write an article on Josh Jacobs, so you can find that on my Twitter at @FF_downunder, and we can chat about it more there. So Jacobs, he's still in my top 5 rookies for this year, just because the volume he's going to get and all that. But the running back I like more than him, and I think is an even better landing spot, is Miles Sanders.
Okay, in Philly.
In Philly, yeah. I think with that offensive line, their quarterback, all of the past guys, I just think it's a great offense. Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, they brought in Deshaun Jackson, who brought back who is going to do great things for Carson Wentz, I think, from an NFL perspective. Fantasy, not so much. But, I know there's a few other running backs there, but I think Sanders is going to take that job and run with it.
But Doug Peterson has never been like a one-back guy. It hasn't been his go.
No, and he's never going to get that bell cow workload, but I think that's going to be offset with efficiency, receptions, and touchdowns as well. I think he's going to have so many scoring opportunities, which is one of the things I question with Josh Jacobs is that Raiders offense going to get him in scoring opportunities to put him in the position to score the fantasy points that you're hoping for when you invest such a high pick on him. I just don't see it happening. And the questions around their offensive line as well.
All right, so who else did you have in your top 5?
Oh, we talked about him earlier, so I'll just name check him. But N'Keal Harry, he's my non-superflex Dynasty 101.
Homer.
He's your non-superflex 101. Okay, that's fair. All right.
Yeah, non-superflex 101. So yeah. So he was one of my favorite receivers coming in, and then it was just landing spot and a few other names that I like. Deebo Samuel, obviously.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a surprise pick, but the more I dig into him, the more impressed I am with him. And watching some of his film, he does a lot of things really well. I think he's going to be really successful for the 49ers.
He's a bit of that sort of
the pick that feels like a bit of a trap for me, and I think he's been a bit divisive in the fantasy community. Some guys are shooting him all the way to the top of their wide receiver rankings, and others are a bit hesitant. Is Mecole Hardman?
Right. Yeah.
What do you guys think of him?
Well, I put him on my list of, because we're going to discuss disappointing landing spots, but that's right. We just mix it all up. Yeah, because this guy, I mean, I don't know if you watch film on him, G, and I certainly didn't. You watch way more players than I did. This is a guy that has shot up draft boards only really because of the landing spot, I think painting him as the next Tyreek Hill is a stretch and a half.
It is a strange pick, and if they're looking to replace, you can't replace Tyreek Hill.
No,
there's no doubt that the guy has speed and he's got a good set of hands. But if that's what you're trying to do, I don't know if this is the guy to do it. I actually don't know if there's not anybody in this draft that is Tyreek Hill.
No.
Mate, there's one guy on here that probably I know in regards to. I'm just going down the list here to find out. Marquise Brown.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
As far as speed goes,
yes.
And another one on here is Justice Hill. Would be probably the two quickest guys that I watched on tape.
Yeah.
Like game speed.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Like you look at like Miles Boykin, who was I'm high on Miles Boykin.
Yep.
Just watching Miles Boykin before we jumped on, and yeah, he does some nice things. And in terms of an athletic profile, just a freak.
Yeah, well, he ran the same
He
ran the same speed as Odell Beckham, right? For the 40.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah, and he's 6'4" and 220.
Exactly.
Like, the dude is a monster.
Yeah. But the problem is, I find his game speed isn't that fast.
Right. Okay.
He doesn't play that fast. But these guys do. They might not have. A couple of them blow up the combine, but as far as game speed go, they're probably the two quickest guys that I've watched.
Yeah, this is the thing.
I think Hollywood would have torched the 40 if he didn't have the injury, and it's the whole Ravens offense is so intriguing to dig into for fantasy because we're really so unsure of what Lamar Jackson is going to be, because what they were doing towards the end of last season is not sustainable from a run to pass ratio. It's just not. And he showed some flashes of what he can do in terms of throwing the ball. He showed some stuff, but he obviously needs to take a step forward. It's going to be really. I'm going to watch as many Ravens games as I can this year, because watching Lamar Jackson, like you said, Hollywood Brown, Miles Boykin, Justice Hill, even Mark Ingram, I think, has got plenty of juice left. So I think they're going to be fun. And they're tight ends as well. I think Mark Andrews is going to take a step forward. I liked him coming out last year. Hayden Hurst, not as much, but the Ravens clearly liked a lot about him. They drafted him in the first round. I think that's going to be a really fun offense to watch, and I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson just because so many people wanted to, crap all over him. I really hope he can turn it, not even turn it around, but just take the next step and become a proper dual threat quarterback.
Here's the thing that I find a little bit puzzling, right? So we were talking about Bill Belichick and the whole Rob Gronkowski thing, and on a simple level, people saying, why didn't he go and draft the next Gronkowski or the next sort of person with the spider chart closest to Gronk's measurables? But then the Chiefs have sort of seemingly done that. Whereas why couldn't you just, okay, you have a need, you're going to potentially have a need at wide receiver. Why not just get the best wide receiver on the board, not reach for a guy that you think has the same measurables as Tyreek Hill? It's
a strange one, and it's, trying to go like for like. You're never going to replace Tyreek Hill. He is the ultimate outlier. He broke every efficiency model out there, right? We just had to sit back and accept and go, well, actually, this is just what Tyreek Hill does. There's no regression coming for him. This is just who he is. He is a freak. And betting on that, trying to replace someone who's, got a similar athletic profile. Similar, not as good, just similar. It's not even like he is as good an athlete. Tyreek Hill has bona fide Olympic sprinter speed. So, yeah, it was an interesting decision by the Chiefs, I think.
Now, one guy we haven't brought up yet, and that's the Colts. Paris Campbell.
Ooh.
Now, if you talk about
what
landing
a landing
spots,
spot.
I don't
Brilliant
think you could have asked for any better. No. I really don't. Out of any wide receiver, mate, he just landed. He's like a cat. You threw him off the roof, and he just went bang on his feet. Thank you very much. No problems.
Lovely. And we liked him. He's fantastic, but, the player...
We haven't seen the best of Paris Campbell yet. We haven't seen everything he can do because the offense that he played in didn't have him doing... They had him doing crossing routes basically all the time. And if you watch his film, mate, once that ball's in his hand, there's guys that are closing in and he is shot through the hole.
Yeah.
And they're just no chance at all. This dude's got some serious speed. And we saw what happened at Pro Day, at the Combine, when we start getting him on routes, mate, how sharp and efficient he was.
Yeah.
And how quick he was out of his breaks.
Yep.
And then you go, mate, and how about we give you Andrew Luck as your quarterback? No, when you have the tight ends running down the seam, just spreading everybody out, you got blanking.
T.Y. Hilton.
Thank you very much. You got blanking out. T.Y. Hilton on one side. We got Deion Kane coming back. Who's Memphis, good friend of ours at the Dynasty Warzone, is a big rap on Deion Kane. You haven't seen you haven't seen anything yet. You
Devin Funchess.
Well, mate, bit quicker than an iceberg type guy. But the point is that these guys open up.
Oh, yeah.
So much field for someone like Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
Mate, I don't know who's going to be covering the dude. I seriously have no idea.
Yeah, Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
Well, won't be covering him. I'm saying another weapon.
Well, that's what I said about the tight ends.
Jack Doyle. Yeah.
Well, Jack Doyle's okay.
It's unbelievable. And they have the offensive line to boot as well.
Yes.
It's just what Chris Ballard has done with that team has just been sensational. And the Colts are a real, I wouldn't even say a dark horse, but they're
they're beyond that. Yeah.
He did a great job in the draft.
They're beyond that now, but they're just... Yeah, they're definitely going to be challenging for the AFC Championship, I think, this year.
What Chris Ballard did was to say, okay, we have this pick high enough here. Mate, we don't need anybody here. Let's drop back. Let's get back into the second round. Let's pick up more picks in the second round. And he just tore it a new one. He's seriously switched. He earns his money very, very well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And he can pick players as well.
Yeah.
He has a history going back to his time as a scout of picking players that others weren't paying any attention to.
Absolutely. A player who was mocked by many to the Colts, and I must confess I'm high on. I've been drafting him because I'm banking on the talent, and the landing spot was terrible, and that's AJ Brown. But look,
yeah, it really couldn't have gone to a worse place, to be honest.
Well, he could have. But look, Could have gone to the Giants. That would have been worse. Oh, well.
That's a pretty fair statement, you know.
What?
He could have gone to the Giants.
Well, yes.
Mate, you're going to go from Eli Manning.
To be fair, though, I think that should just be just a general caveat in life now. Whenever says it couldn't get any worse, we just implied in that is that you could always go to the Giants.
It used to be the
we know
Browns.
it can always be worse than going to the Giants.
Yep. No, the Browns is a plum landing spot these days. Now, the thing is, and the thing which sometimes you do have to just bank on the talent from a dynasty perspective, because who knows who's going to be under centre in a year's time. In actual fact, will Mariota even play the whole season? And if he doesn't, then I think Tannehill throwing A.J. Brown the ball could actually be pretty good. So anyway.
Yeah, it could be Ryan Tannehill.
Well, that's right. Which, I mean, Ryan Tannehill greater than Marcus Mariota? Maybe. Mathematically.
Well, if you're going to bring up AJ,
I mean,
but you have to
if he plays in the slot and you can just feed him like he did Jarvis Landry, we would take that.
True. Oh, yeah. True.
Well, if you're going to talk about bad land, Marquise Brown landed with the Ravens. Like, that's not really where you want someone like him to go, is it?
Well,
like Justice Hill, I'm a lot more excited about Justice Hill landing there.
Yes.
And how the offense works and how it's going to open the offense up for him than it does for Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. I would hope, though, they're going to get nice and creative with Brown and just find ways to get the ball in his hand as often as possible.
But here's the thing, right?
Lamar Jackson only threw over, I think, was it only once or twice?
Over 200.
Over 200
yeah,
yards.
I know, but hang on, okay,
right? He's a rookie. Let's not,
hang on.
Draw and quarter him right now.
No, hang on. NFL offenses change and evolve, okay? And the Ravens picked Marquise Brown as the number one wide receiver in the NFL draft, not by accident. Yep. Like they have a plan, you think, you hope, although Dave Gettleman doesn't seem to have a plan, so I mean, what am I saying? Or seems to have any scouting department at all, or common sense. Sorry, I should lay off the Giants for a second, but like honestly, they drafted this style of wide receiver with a plan in mind.
Right.
So we should give them the benefit of the doubt because maybe they're going to be changing things up. I don't know.
Well, I said earlier, it's not sustainable, right? So they have to at least try to change things up. And I don't think last season they were expecting to play Lamar Jackson at all. And then Flacco got hurt and they're like, oh, what do we do? Let's just run the ball, 35, 40 times a game or whatever it was. I think they were sort of making things up as they went along. So You'd think, like you said, that the moves that the franchise made are telling us something, right? We have to at least go on the assumption that the moves that they make, and we do this all the time, we look at contracts that they give out, they look at trades, they look at who they bring in free agency. We have to assume that those moves are telling us something. And drafting a wide receiver in the first round for a team that we think wants to run the ball a lot maybe tells us that they want to. And of course, there's always the possibility that because of his incredible speed and the threat he possesses, he's been drafted for that ability to help the run game, right? I think there's a better chance than not that he's a significantly better NFL player than he is a fantasy player.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, we did want to talk about we are sort of mixing good and bad, G. One player I want to mention, drafted in the third round. Now, you told me about this player and I had a look at him like days before the NFL draft. Otherwise, he wasn't on my radar. Jalen Hurd.
Is this for good or bad?
Good.
Oh, look, it's good and it's bad. It's good that he look.
How's it bad?
Because I've been thinking about just because who's there. It's just, and now they're talking about we might line him up at tight end.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That's bizarre.
But he lands, you go, great.
He's a big guy.
He lands at Shanahan. We know, like the rabbits that he pulls out and the mastery of the trickery and everything, and he's always working, 15 plays ahead, and he's just sort of one of those guys, and that's what the Falcons have lacked since he's left. It's just like, okay, what's the next play? Well, how about we do this one? Everywhere like that one? Okay, we'll go with that. And that's what we've lost. He'd set teams up. That's the type of guy that he is. But, and I'm a massive Jalen Hurd. I think I had him as number 4 wide receiver. I think this guy is. Everybody talks about Hakeem Butler. I believe he does everything Hakeem Butler can do. He probably doesn't. Obviously doesn't have. Hakeem Butler does have a more sort of vertical wingspan sort of game, but this guy's not far behind him. And once this guy gets the ball in his hand, the moment his first foot hits the ground, he is now a running back, and that's how he plays the game. But mate, who have we got there? You got Pettis.
Yes.
You got Deebo Samuel. You got Kittle.
Yep.
You got a multitude of backs.
Marquise Goodwin.
Sorry?
Marquise Goodwin as well.
Don't forget Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne. And you've got a litany of running backs that are all pass catchers.
Yes.
So it's great that he landed with someone who's that minded as a head coach, but it's just a bad landing spot from just the amount of volume and the crowd that he's got to contend with.
All right.
He's definitely a project pick and someone you can stash away on a taxi squad or something like that. Bearing in mind he's only played receiver for 1 season as well. So
that's right.
No, yeah, I think his ceiling is quite high. We're going to get him in drafts. I think, if he in a dynasty league, just hold on to him, like you said, Lewis. Stack him away on your taxi squad, and I think he one day will repay the faith.
Yeah. What about other bad landing spots?
Who'd you have for bad, Lewis?
Bad landing spots. Who else did I have as a bad landing spot? I mean, it's probably unfair to say Daniel Jones, right? He couldn't help that. Let's stop piling on the Giants because that's no fun for
actually,
fans.
To be truthful, for Daniel Jones, from his perspective, a good landing spot. I mean, he's a guy who's coming into really the prospect of being a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and they're improving the line, and they got some weapons there, and Saquon Barkley.
Right,
it's just Gettleman's comments post draft, and he said, oh, it might be 3 years till he starts. I mean, these people are going to be doing weekend at Eli's and rolling him out on a gurney and having people prop him up like a corpse.
Yeah, I mean, man, to be honest, he looked like a corpse at times last year.
Yeah, look, and we all know that what happened with him when they put him on the bench and brought in Geno Smith, and everything that happened in regards to the flack that they got and the kickback and the storm.
It's like they're apologising still, right? There's like, we're sorry we did that.
Yeah, we're not going to
let you go out when you feel like it.
But is it? Can I just mate? Eli Manning hasn't been good for a great number of years.
Yes,
a great number of years. Okay, so is it? I've always thought that. Was the kickback for the fact that they benched him, or was it the fact that they benched him for Geno Smith? Now, but seriously, you think about it, I've always thought, maybe it's the fact that, oh my God, you're pulling him out. You're going to do that to him after all these starts that he's had and what he's done. Okay,
yeah.
But it's Geno bloody Smith. Like, if it was a better quarterback,
it was a known quantity.
If it was a known quantity. Or even like a high-taken rookie, maybe not Daniel Jones, but
right?
But would the kickback has been as bad, or was it just? I reckon a lot of it had to do with the fact that, my God, you benching him for Geno Smith.
For Geno Smith, yeah, it was just the ultimate marker of disrespect. Maybe it's something. Maybe Archie Manning has got one of Dave Gettleman's kids held hostage.
He knows all about him. When they ring up and they start naming everything about your family and where they go and stuff like that, and you go, okay, they know too much about you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Get him as I'll keep playing Eli as long as you keep sending me proof of life.
Exactly.
I know Giant fans don't like Dave Gettleman. I know he's not popular. He's got this New York thing about him, though. When you listen to him talk, and he says this stuff, he's very brash and just confident and like this. Well, this is the call that I made, and so that's it. Kind of shtick. And yet, when you look at the words that he says, it doesn't actually make a lot of sense. But when you listen to him, he's sort of got that brash sort of like,
Mate, seriously.
Screw you all.
If Daniel Jones turns out
right
to be a really good quarterback,
sure.
Mate, he can, firstly, he's going to stick his finger at everybody.
Yeah.
Can anybody stand alongside him and do the same?
He's not going to be around long enough to see that happen.
Okay.
It might happen.
You'll hear from him anyway if he's
you
not
will.
there.
Yes.
Okay. What about someone that I liked as a running back, and I had him as my number 2 purely based on the talent of the guy. Now, granted, he's never finished a year at college. He's never seen the whole year out. He had a broken leg. He did his ACL last year. I'm trying to think what else. Was it concussion? I'm trying to think he missed a bit of his second year. And that's Rodney Anderson. And he went and landed.
He landed in a bad spot.
Yeah, right. Well, you land behind. They took. I'm trying to think who was the other guy that they grabbed. The Bengals.
Travion Williams.
Yes, Travion. Which a lot of people spoke up, and I don't mind Travion Williams. Yeah, he's good. He's okay. But I found Andy Robinson a far better running back when he was healthy.
Right.
And he goes and that not only in front of, he also has like Joe Mixon to contend with.
Right.
No.
I think they're touting Travion as a bit of a Gio Bernard replacement.
Okay.
Because I think Gio's cap number is prohibitive. I think he might be gone.
You got anybody else that you didn't like the landing spot?
Yeah, I mean, both of those running backs hit a bad landing spot for sure. The other one, obviously, was a rough one. Was Darrell Henderson. Ooh. I really liked him, and I was hoping that he'd land somewhere where he could start. And he's stuck behind Todd Gurley for the foreseeable future, unless another injury happens to Gurley. But
is it a bad landing?
I think it's good. I think it's good. I think Gurley's shot, mate. I think he's gone. I've said to Adrian, I had a shoulder operation about 4 months ago, and when they opened me up, I have no cartilage left at all on the top of. I've got bone against bone, and eventually I have to have a shoulder replacement. Mate, and I know, and I have to use, because I'm a tradie, so I have to use it for work, my shoulder, and it constantly is sore. I have an ache. Now, this guy's got no cartilage on his knee. And he's putting the amount of stress that goes through that every day, just body weight. I'm not even using body weight.
Yep.
I think them going out and getting Henderson, it tells a lot more about what they see of Todd Gurley, I think, and the injury that he has. Because he pulled up, we saw what happened at the end of last year. I reckon Darrell Henderson's going to see a fair bit of work during the year just to save Todd Gurley.
Oh, at least, yes.
Yeah. For
timeshare at least.
Yeah, I think he's going to get worked in. And as soon as they drafted him, I said sort of long term for Todd Gurley, this doesn't look good in terms of his value. But I still think he's going to get plenty of work. I mean, he was close to 400 touches the last couple of seasons, I believe. So even if they bring him down to around 300 in that, I still think Gurley is a very fine fantasy asset. So in terms, it's more of an immediate landing spot that's bad. Now, obviously, if there's an injury, then it's a great landing spot for Henderson. But I think it's more of an insurance policy than it is we're deathly concerned about Gurley. But that's just my gut feeling on it. Maybe I'm just being the optimist in terms of Gurley. Maybe the trade up by the organization says that they are more concerned. I know they returned Malcolm Brown on the offer sheet as well. The Lions wanted him. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So bad landing spot right now for me, but it could very easily turn into one. I just wanted to see Darrell Henderson come in and start right away because he's electric.
Yeah, now we did have a question, G.
He's a big, powerful back too. I was going to say before we go to the question, just one guy, any position that you're excited to watch play this year. From visual, I want to watch him play. Yeah, you just want to watch him play. A rookie.
Devin Singletary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just love watching him play. He was so difficult to tackle, so elusive, and I think he will get opportunity sooner rather than later. Maybe they cut LaShawn McCoy. They're adding a lot of pieces to that backfield. They've improved the offensive line significantly. They've invested a lot there. And yeah, he was very disappointing in the combine for a player his size. He clearly doesn't have the great athletic profile, and he's a bit of a two-down back. But I just think he's going to be really fun to watch because he's got really good vision. He knows when to bounce it outside, and he's incredibly hard to tackle. He's got great balance and can shake guys off. And I think we're going to see a few runs from him. He's just entertaining to watch. Nice.
Now, that there was a couple of questions, but this one is sort of out of left field, sort of. From Neil Gray. Hey, Neil, who asks, who's the sleeper IDP player from the draft for you? And I've got a couple. But you guys might have some you want to mention, but I thought I'd throw these guys. We're talking about good landing spots. I thought I'd throw some IDPers in here. And the first one I wanted to mention was Taylor Rapp, safety out of Washington, and he lands at the Rams. And, of course, the Rams let Mark Barron go, who was that converted safety who was playing linebacker. And I think Taylor Rapp could sneakily be a similar kind of player. Scheme-wise, I think he's going to be like one of those hybrid safety/linebacker guys that plays in the box. So from a fantasy perspective, I think he's going to actually be a really, really good pick. Devin Bush, obviously, Pittsburgh moving up from 20 to 10 to get Devin Bush, and the Steelers needed a linebacker in the worst way. Ironically, they have Mark Barron at the Steelers, but they needed linebacker in the worst way, so I think he could be really good. But another one worth mentioning, which is a good segue back to you, Lewis, is Chase Winovich, who we didn't speak about earlier.
Yeah, I was excited about this pick. We were focusing on the offensive ones before, but I loved watching the Twitter breakdowns and film clips of Chase Winovich. I thought he looked really good, and I couldn't believe that he landed on the Patriots. I thought he'd be gone by them. And sort of ironically as well, a few people's player comps pre-draft had him compared to Rob Ninkovich.
Right. Yeah.
And he could, obviously lands on the same team. And, I'll be honest, I don't play too much IDP. I dabble occasionally. So I have no idea. And I certainly wasn't playing IDP when Ninkovich was on the Patriots. So I have no idea if he was productive or not. But I'm excited to see him play. I think he's a good player. So I kick it back to you in terms of IDP production, whether you think he'll be in a position to score some points. I think he'll get playing time.
Oh, yeah, I think he will be because, it's funny that the Patriots' defensive line scheme tends to be quite friendly from an IDP perspective. Like you think of Trey Flowers, he's pretty productive. Yeah. And it's funny because I think IDP-wise, him going to the Lions connection.
Patriots, Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tunnel, the freeway. I don't know that he's going to be as productive from a fantasy perspective, but he's a good player. But I just think there's something about the scheme that is used in New England that really just brings out the best in. I mean, like Kyle Van Noy, let's be frank here. Let's just be honest, is an average linebacker. But I think that in that scheme and, in that defense, he looks like an all-pro.
He was awesome last year.
Yes. Yeah.
And we got him for a 6th round pick from Detroit, if memory serves me correctly.
Oh, really? Ironically.
Yeah.
Any other questions, OJ?
Yes, and there was another question from Ben Harler from our Melbourne League. Hey, Ben, who asks, he'd love to hear about quarterbacks who are going to improve or decline based on what their team's drafted. So I guess, for example, you could say Andrew Luck gaining Paris Campbell, although,
I think he's doing quite well.
I think he's doing quite well anyway.
On his own.
We're probably looking at bigger gaps of, like, who do you think's the biggest winner in the quarterback room?
I'll throw one out there. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he could have a huge year. He's obviously had some weapons added.
Oh.
We know what Kyle Shanahan does for quarterbacks, and there's the narrative around year 2 taking a step forward. And I know obviously he didn't really play much last year, but I'd wager significant amounts of money that he was still studying and learning Shanahan's concepts and playbook and all that kind of stuff. So he's still going to be putting in the time. I think he's going to have some familiarity, just weapons galore all around him. And the hype in Dynasty was crazy for him around this time last year, or maybe getting a little bit closer to the season. And with Andrew Luck coming back and Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, and he's been pushed right back to the end of the queue in terms of the younger quarterbacks that people want to get. He's about quarterback 14 in Dynasty ADP right now. And I think that's a steal, and it's a similar position in early mock redraft leagues. And I think he could be a very solid quarterback 1 for this season.
Yeah, because the scheme that you'd have to learn from Shanahan would be, I remember watching a clip of Matty Ryan sitting on the bench talking to Shanahan in his first year, and I think it was like later in the year, and he said, mate, he goes, next year when we've got this all worked out, he was just like, no one's going to know what hit him. He can see it, but it's just learning it, isn't it? And then, thanks,
that's
mate.
it.
Then we lead 28-3. I reckon another guy, Lamar Jackson, just with what he's been given, Boykin, Brown, Ingram, and Justice Hill. He's been given a lot of weapons. Mate, it might not be this year, but mate, he's got a young core of very good players that they will grow together.
For sure. Okay. Should we wrap it up?
I reckon we should.
Sounds good.
Some of us have to work tomorrow.
Oh, you have to work tomorrow.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I've got to pay for this trip somehow.
Mind you, you're working 7 days.
Mate, I've paid for a trip. I'm going on a trip that I haven't yet paid for.
Oh, man. Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure. And as you said at the top, we waited sort of too long to do it. We've got to get you on again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back on again soon. This has been a blast. So thanks very much for having me on, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and I mean, look, as we also said, like geographically, come on, it should be easy. You're literally like 45 minutes in a good 747 full speed.
It's an hour and a half.
Oh, what?
It's an hour and a half.
It's not an hour and a half.
It's an hour and 20 minutes or something.
You adding the trip to the airport? An hour then. Let's put it in the middle.
Okay, if you want to take an hour.
Let's call it an hour. But one thing for sure, we'll have to next time in Melbourne, we'll have to link up and do a podcast in the same room, and also have some beers.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Hopefully by then we're all back on the back on the wagon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Back on the drinking wagon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure. We'll let you go, Lewis. And also, I'll just give a plug for the Aussie Bowl. And I think I tweeted out your link and sort of advertisement for that earlier today, but I can do that accompanying the episode as well. But if people give you a follow at FF_Down Under, and they can see all the details for that on there. So sign up.
Yeah, please do.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Lewis. And till next time, thanks so much.
Absolutely, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, too. Man. All right. See ya. Well, that was great, G. So that's another episode, and we've got a discussion with Matt Waldman coming up on the weekend as well. So
a few players I want to ask him about.
Yeah. So we will crank this one out, but it was great getting Lewis on, as I said.
Do you reckon we get like inside running on the Aussie Bowl?
Ooh,
he'll look after us now that we've had him on?
Maybe. Well, he didn't reverse my Darius Guice pick. He could have done that mid-draft.
That was your own fault.
Yeah, it was my own fault. Yeah. I won't do that.
You have to cop that for stupidity.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. A little bit of a casual, different discussion.
Just a chat.
Just a chat.
Quiet time.
Yeah, exactly. So why not?
We're in between everything at the moment, aren't we?
Precisely. So thanks, as always, for listening. And till next time, on behalf of Gia and myself, catch you next time. No, catch you next time. We'll see you. What do I usually... I've forgotten what I say.
God.
What do I say?
I'm out.
Catch you later.
That's what I say.